Well, you know who dodged a bullet in the Big 12 this past week was the Baylor Bears. I mean, we talked a little bit about Matt Rhule potentially going to the New York Jets, and I wanted to touch on that for a couple more minutes, and then we'll spin it into Kyler Murray and what's gone on there. Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of heartlandcollegesports.com, your independent Big 12 digital media outlet. So Matt Rhule almost ended up as an NFL head coach. You know, it's so funny because I think about a year ago, I was in Waco for the Baylor-Texas game. Texas owns the Bears in that one. My buddy Donnie Wright hooked us up with great seats. Me and my buddy Ryan, great seats right at the 40-yard line, lower tier, fantastic atmosphere. Love the Bears fans. Love to be back there soon for a Heartland College Sports tailgate. And, you know, the bitching and moaning from Baylor fans about Matt Rhule and how, oh, where's our Bryles? We miss our Bryles. It's like, guys, this guy was rumored to be interested, or the Colts had interest in him last offseason. Now you've got the New York Jets who, you know, the reports I saw, and since I used to work in New York, I had a little bit of insight on this. The Jets were serious about Matt Rhule, legit serious. And the report I read from the New York Daily News last week said that basically the Jets wanted to say in what he did at offensive coordinator. And it's a typical New York Jets move. They are too stupid to get out of their own way. I mean, why you'd hire a guy but not have confidence in him picking one of his two most important hires below him is beyond me. It makes no sense. But Rhule talked to his buddy Bill Parcells, who told him, don't take a job where you can't hire the staff. So Rhule said, sorry, I'm out. And while no job may have been officially offered, Matt Rhule may very well have been the next head coach of the New York Jets had the Jets not continued to be one of the most incompetent franchises in the NFL. Had that happened, that would have been just it would have killed this Baylor program in the momentum that it had. Could have found a nice head coach. Maybe Seth Luttrell takes the job. But you got something good there, Matt Rhule. Now, am I concerned that this guy has flirted with NFL jobs the past two off seasons? I am. I think it can be used against him in recruiting. I think it should be. If I was recruiting against Matt Rhule, I'd be using that against him if I'm being honest. I don't want to hinder a guy from reaching his dreams and going where he wants to go. But it's also like, dude, you came here, you sold us a lot on how you're going to buy into Waco, the community, to the Baylor program. And I'm not saying he hasn't, but when you flirted with two NFL jobs in 2 straight years and one was really serious, I know you're from New York in the Northeast, but it's also like, what's going on here? What's the deal? You in or you out? I hope he's in. But here's the thing. I don't think Matt Rhule's here for 5 years total, let's say. 19, 20. If Matt Rhule's coaching the Bears in 2021, I'll be shocked. I hope he is, but I'll be surprised if he is. But by 2021, Rhule should have this program in a much better place than it even is today. And now maybe they're only winning, 8, 9 instead of 7 games. But I'm saying from a depth perspective, from a cultural perspective, from what the future of the program is going to be perspective, they're not quite there yet. They're getting there. But, they're still replenishing the well in many ways from the disaster that was, the transfers, people leaving, getting kicked out, and they're still rebuilding the culture. If I could guarantee 2 more solid years from Matt Rhule, if I'm a Baylor fan, I'd do it tomorrow in a heartbeat. And I think you could live with it, and then you could get a coach that, first off, wants the job. It's a more appealing job, and it would just be a better place for the program. Trying to hire a guy in the middle of January, that is difficult for anybody, never mind Baylor. So Kyler Murray, did you see this? He declared for the 2019 NFL Draft. And, I wasn't surprised. The word was the last several days that Murray basically met with the A's and said, how much are you going to pay me to not consider football? And, his agent, Scott Boras, and if you're a baseball fan like I am, you probably have your opinion on Scott Boras. Guy gets his players' money, gets his guys' money. Does he do it in the most kosher fashion? Can we put it that way? Not so much. But this was a weird test. It was a test to basically see, all right, Kyler, how much money do you need to not do what you love? Clearly, Kyler Murray loves football more than baseball. You can't debate it. The guy's played one full year of football since high school, which was, 5 years ago now? And he's like, yeah, I know I have $5 million in the bank to play baseball. It's not good enough. It doesn't do it for me. I want to play football. And you sit there and you're like, okay, I get it. Is he a first-round draft pick in the NFL? According to Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, he is. When he actually measures in at like 5'8" and 3/4 instead of the 5'10" he's listed at, is that going to change in the eyes of NFL GMs? It might. I'm not saying he can't be Russell Wilson at 5'10", but everything I hear is that the guy's not a legit 5'10" anyway. So, when you get down to 5'8", 5'9", do they feel differently? They might. I don't think he is Russell Wilson. I don't think he is Baker Mayfield. Doesn't mean he doesn't have great wheels and he couldn't be a nice player. I just don't think he's those guys. I think this is a step below. This is what I said about Kyler Murray after the loss to Alabama. Great athlete in a great system, but a good football player. Baker Mayfield was a great football player in a great system, but a good athlete. And I think that will ring true if he does go through with the NFL draft process. But how this is going to work is that he can still negotiate with the A's. If the A's say, hey, here's $10 million signing bonus, please don't play baseball, or please don't play football, please don't enter the NFL draft, that might be good enough for him. This all might be a negotiating ploy. He still has time. He had until Monday night to enter the NFL draft, but he still had a little bit of time a couple of days after to remove himself. Not saying he's going to do that or will do that, but he still could do that. And then what happens from there, he might just throw the process out the window. Just because he enters the NFL draft, yes, he could get drafted, but if he participates in nothing, then it might not mean anything. But if I'm the A's, I'm also sitting here and I'm saying, am I getting fleeced? Now, if you think that this guy is the next great center fielder, if you think he's a young Jacoby Ellsbury, which I don't know if he is, but I'm just kind of thinking about a guy similar size, great footwork, great speed, a little bit of power, hit it in the gap. I just thought of Jacoby Ellsbury. If you're convinced he's the next Jacoby Ellsbury, then maybe you do it. But where do you draw the line and say, I respect this guy. He's a great two-sport star. He has a ton of skill and a ton of ability and a ton of talent. But if his heart isn't in this, do we even want him? Whether it's $5, $7, $8, $9, $10, $12 million. Do we want that? I mean, if he's going to be in our organization and thinking about the NFL day in, day out, and thinking about what could have been in football after he goes 0 for 4 at Double-A Pat Jog in front of 800 people, is he going to be happy? And how does that have a snowball effect from there on down? I think it's a fair question. And if I'm the Oakland A's, if I'm Billy Beane, if I'm the organization, I'm thinking that through very extensively. Because it does come to a point where, all right, you could get him the money, but if it's not going to matter in his heart, that he's never going to be the baseball player that you want him to be. And that has to be part of the conversation here. It should be, and it must be. Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of heartlandcollegesports.com. Hope you're having a great day. Coming up, let's talk to Chris Williams, Cyclone fanatic. We'll look forward to that conversation coming up.